With Anzac Day just 6 days away, there have been calls to protect our Defence Force veterans and ease their transition back to society. AFL legend and ambassador for Bravery Trust, Kevin Sheedy, is advocating for tax incentives and rebates for businesses to hire veterans transitioning back into society. He says employing ex-servicemen and women should be seen as a badge of honour. Well, joining me now is AFL Hall of Famer Kevin Sheedy. Kevin, thank you for joining me. You were in the Army yourself for a couple of years, and you say what you learned set you up for life. Defence Force veterans really do make fantastic employees, don't they?
Oh, look, I think that there's every chance they will, because the training they've received, the disciplines, the organisational skills, I think are very important for a lot of business houses that actually extend into what you need to run a very good business. And to me, I think it's a common sense issue, really. I think that these men and women have put their life on the line for our country, and I see no reason why we shouldn't look after them when they do come home. I think we have a serious problem with death of many of our Defence Force personnel when they come back, and I think that we should be a better country than that.
You are an ambassador for Bravery Trust, which supports injured diggers and their families. What challenges do they face trying to re-enter the workforce?
Well, many of them actually enter the workforce successfully, but many need help, and they're the ones that we believe we can help. I think in the end, not many Australians get to a war zone and would understand the difficulties of the wars today. We've just finished and probably still working through one of the longest wars, if not the longest war Australia's ever been in. But I think the average person out there in the workforce, like myself, involved in sport, don't realise that unless we actually keep reading about it, obviously in the newspapers and what's the news. And I think that it just goes unnoticed. And I think we've got to really work hard to bring the attention back to the Australian public that, you know, with our allied forces and the difficulties that may come up in the near future, we make sure that we look after our men and women. I think the Americans and many other countries have done very well in assembling together packages to help our Defence Forces when they come back out of the Army, Navy and Air Force. And even people that are working in border control situations that may happen in the near future, if we can see what's happening in the Pacific and the Asian seas right now. So I think we better prepare ourselves to make sure that we look after our Australian Defence Forces better than we've ever done ever.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned that the current federal government's veterans employment commitment was largely symbolic. What is something meaningful the government can do to help these veterans and their families?
Well, look, I think that we should have a think tank session with the Defence Force people, in particular the RSL and Soldier On and Bravery Trust, and there are many people that help working with the commandos that can bring the attention to the public to make sure that our governments just don't push it onto a bus seat next to Forrest Gump and leave it there. That these are serious issues. And I know there's a Royal Commission coming up and involving the issue right now, but I hope they get it right, because we are very lax in this area. I think the Americans in particular are very loyal to their Defence Forces more than nearly any other country in the world. Obviously, they've been in more wars than Australia, but I think they respect their Defence Force people a lot more than we do in Australia. And that's why Anzac Day and the game that we're brought to attention, Essendon and Collingwood and Melbourne and Richmond on the night before, very important for an education for young Australian people.
Absolutely. And were instrumental in getting that Anzac Day game up, and that has really educated so many people about our proud history. So, Kevin Sheedy, thank you again for joining me tonight.